love, marriage, and the poignant unraveling of promises once made. These are the themes that weave together our story. It's a tale of unbridled passion, an overwhelming tide of desire that consumes and transforms, drawing one into an intoxicating whirlpool of devotion. Before we dive into this intense journey of emotions, I'd love for you to support the channel by hitting that like button and subscribing. Your encouragement fuels my passion to create more captivating content for you. And now, let's immerse ourselves in the story that awaits. After my divorce, I had been single for quite a while. Life, though freeing in some ways, often felt hollow and lonely. I was learning to find solace in my own company, but the silence of the evenings often stretched too long. My days were consumed by work, the endless tasks and deadlines offering a welcome distraction. Yet, when evening fell, I found myself retreating to the comfort of my couch, flipping through TV channels or losing myself in the pages of a book. My neighborhood was a quiet one, a tapestry of familiar faces and cordial nods. People knew one another here, exchanging small talk over white picket fences or during morning jogs. But I mostly kept to myself. One golden afternoon, when the sun bathed the streets in a warm glow, I decided to go for a walk around the block. The crisp air carried the lively sounds of children laughing and playing in their yards, their voices echoing like a joyful symphony. As I strolled past the familiar houses, my eyes caught a new face, a tall, striking man with deep brown skin and a strong, confident stance was unloading boxes from a moving truck. His movements were fluid and purposeful, his presence commanding in a way that was hard to ignore. He seemed focused yet approachable, and I found myself stealing glances at him, curiosity stirring within me. Over the next few days, I noticed him more often. He was usually outside, tending to his yard or chatting easily with the neighbors, his laughter blending harmoniously with the suburban hum. Every time our eyes met, he would smile and give me a friendly wave. There was something magnetic about him, something that made the routine walks I had taken for years suddenly more exciting. I learned from a neighbor that his name was William. The name suited him: strong, warm, and inviting. One evening, after a long day at work, I saw William sitting on his porch. A glass of what looked like iced tea rested in his hand as he leaned back, enjoying the cool evening breeze. I hesitated at first, unsure if I should approach him. My heart pounded as I debated whether to take the chance. Finally, summoning my courage, I walked over. "Hi, William," I began, trying to sound casual. "How's the move going?" He looked up, his face lighting up with a smile that instantly put me at ease. "Hey, it's going great. Thanks for asking. Just trying to settle in and make this place feel like home." His voice was warm and inviting, his tone rich with sincerity. The conversation flowed naturally from there, an effortless exchange that felt like catching up with an old friend. William shared that he was an architect, having recently moved to the area for a new job. His passion for his work was evident, and the way he spoke about his designs with such enthusiasm was infectious. I found myself laughing more than I had in months, his laughter a comforting melody that seemed to chase away the shadows in my heart. After that first conversation, I couldn't help but find excuses to pass by his house more often, whether it was a walk to clear my head or a leisurely stroll after dinner. I hoped to see him outside. Each time, we would talk a little longer, the connection between us growing stronger with every interaction. One sunny morning, William invited me to a barbecue he was hosting that weekend. His invitation was casual, but the sparkle in his eyes hinted at more than just a friendly gesture. My heart leaped at the opportunity. "Sure," I replied, trying to keep my excitement in check. "I'd love to come." As the day approached, I found myself fretting over what to wear, a flutter of nerves mixed with anticipation. I chose a simple yet flattering dress, hoping to strike the perfect balance between effort and ease. When I arrived at his house, the smell of grilled meat and the sound of laughter filled the air. William greeted me with a warm hug that sent my heart racing. His friends were welcoming, their easygoing nature making me feel at home. I noticed how William seemed to stay close to me throughout the evening, his glances lingering longer than necessary, his laughter ringing just a bit louder when I was near. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the sky in hues of orange and pink, William suggested we take a walk. The idea thrilled me, the promise of an intimate moment away from the crowd sparking a sense of adventure. We strolled through the quiet neighborhood, our conversation flowing effortlessly. He spoke of his childhood dreams, his love for creating spaces that inspire people. I shared stories of my own, surprising myself with how much I opened up. We reached a small park, its solitude illuminated by the soft glow of the moon. The moment felt surreal, almost like a scene from a movie. William turned to me, his gaze intense yet tender. "Can I kiss you?" he asked, his voice low and filled with emotion. The question caught me off guard, but the sincerity in his eyes made my heart melt. I nodded, unable to form words. When his lips met mine, it was as if the world around us disappeared. The kiss was gentle at first, a sweet exploration that quickly deepened into something more. It was electric, a surge of emotion that left me breathless. In the days that followed, I couldn't stop thinking about William, his smile, his laughter, the warmth of his touch. It all lingered in my mind, pulling me back to that magical night. I replayed our kiss over and over, each memory filling me with both excitement and trepidation. I had been cautious, guarding my heart after the pain of my divorce. But William was changing that. With him, I felt alive in a way I hadn't in years. The future was uncertain, but for the first time in a long time, I felt ready to embrace it. We began spending more and more time together, strolling through parks, sharing cozy dinners, and uncovering hidden gems in the neighborhood. Each moment we spent together seemed charged with an unspoken energy, and slowly, I started to realize just how deeply I was falling for him. One golden afternoon, as we sat on his porch surrounded by the hum of cicadas and the warm glow of the setting sun, he reached over and took my hand. "I really enjoy spending time with you," he said, his voice steady but his eyes searching mine for a response. My heart raced at his words, each syllable sending a wave of warmth through me. "I enjoy it too," I replied softly, a smile spreading across my face as I felt a deep sense of connection between us. For the first time in what felt like forever, I was reminded of what it meant to feel desired, to be cherished. The simple yet profound feeling of being seen and appreciated began to fill the empty spaces in my heart. As the days turned into weeks, our connection grew. William had a way of making me feel completely at ease. He was attentive and kind, with a sharp wit that made me laugh until my sides hurt. It was as though his presence awakened a part of me I had forgotten existed, a vibrant, joyful version of myself that I thought I'd lost. We began to share more than just laughs and lighthearted moments. Late into the night, we would delve into deep conversations, opening up about our dreams, fears, and the winding paths that had brought us to this moment. For the first time in years, I found myself letting my guard down. William's patience and understanding made it easy to trust him, and I realized how much I valued having someone I could confide in. One evening, he invited me over for dinner at his place. The thought both thrilled and terrified me. I spent extra time choosing the perfect outfit and making sure I looked my best. As I walked up to his door, the aroma of delicious food greeted me, and I felt a flutter of anticipation in my chest. When he opened the door, his warm smile instantly put me at ease. "Wow, this looks amazing," I said, my eyes scanning the beautifully set table and the mouth-watering spread he had prepared. "Just trying to treat my special guest right," he replied, his tone playful but his gaze filled with genuine affection. His words made my heart flutter, and I couldn't help but feel incredibly lucky to have someone like him in my life. We sat down to dinner, and the conversation flowed effortlessly. Every laugh, every shared story felt like another thread weaving us closer together. By the time we finished eating, I was floating on a cloud of happiness. After clearing the table, we moved to the couch, the atmosphere between us shifting subtly but unmistakably. William reached for my hand, his touch sending a spark through me. "Can I kiss you again?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. I nodded, my cheeks flushing with warmth. When his lips met mine, it was as though the world around us faded away. The kiss deepened, and I felt myself melt into him, savoring the electric connection we shared. Time seemed to stand still, and when we finally pulled away, breathless and smiling, I saw the same desire mirrored in his eyes that I felt in my heart. "I've never felt this way before," I confessed, my voice trembling with both vulnerability and excitement. "Neither have I," he replied, his tone soft yet filled with conviction. "It's like we have this connection that's hard to put into words." As the weeks went by, our bond only grew stronger. We spent nearly every evening together, exploring the city, going on spontaneous adventures, or simply enjoying quiet nights in. I found myself smiling more often, feeling a sense of lightness that had been missing from my life for so long. William had become a source of joy and comfort, and being with him felt like rediscovering a part of myself. One weekend, he suggested we take a day trip to the beach. "I know a great spot not too far from here," he said, his enthusiasm contagious. "That sounds amazing," I replied, already imagining the sound of waves and the feel of sand beneath my feet. On Saturday morning, we set off early, the car filled with music and laughter. The drive felt like an adventure in itself, and by the time we arrived, the sight of the ocean stretching endlessly before us took my breath away. The salty breeze whipped through my hair as we walked along the shore, the waves lapping at our feet. We spent the day talking, laughing, and basking in the sun. At one point, as we sat together on a blanket, watching the horizon, William turned to me. "I'm really glad I met you," he said, his voice filled with sincerity. The vulnerability in his words touched me deeply, and I realized just how much he had come to mean to me. "Me too," I replied, feeling a surge of emotion. In that moment, surrounded by the beauty of the ocean and the warmth of his presence, I felt a profound sense of contentment. It was as though everything in my life had led me to this point, and I couldn't wait to see where this journey with William would take us. I felt alive in a way I hadn't in years. William grabbed my hand, his touch warm and reassuring, as he led me toward the shimmering water. Each step along the sandy shore sent a thrill of excitement coursing through me. The waves lapped gently at the beach, their rhythmic melody harmonizing with the distant cries of seagulls overhead. It was as if the world had aligned to create this perfect moment. We spent the day immersed in the simple joys of the beach, laughing as we splashed each other in the crystal-clear water, challenging ourselves to build the tallest and most elaborate sandcastles, and chasing after tiny, skittering crabs. I couldn't remember the last time I had laughed so freely or felt so unburdened. William had an infectious, playful energy that made me forget every worry and brought out a side of me I thought I had lost. As the day wore on, the sun began its slow descent, casting the beach in a golden glow that seemed almost magical. We found a quiet spot nestled between two dunes, where we sat side by side to watch the waves roll in. The breeze carried the faint scent of salt and seaweed, and the colors of the setting sun painted the sky in shades of gold, pink, and lavender. "This is perfect," I murmured, resting my head on his shoulder. His arm wrapped around me in response, a gesture so natural and comforting that it felt like home. A sense of contentment washed over me, and I could feel my heart swell with gratitude for this moment. "I'm glad you're enjoying it," he replied, his voice soft yet filled with sincerity. When I looked up, his smile made my chest tighten, a blend of kindness and warmth that made me feel like I was exactly where I was meant to be. In that instant, I knew I had found someone extraordinary. As the sun finally dipped below the horizon, the sky ignited with hues of deep orange and violet, the kind of beauty that seemed almost otherworldly. I closed my eyes for a moment, imprinting the scene into my memory. When I opened them again, William was looking at me with an intensity that made my pulse quicken. "I really like you," he said, his voice low and earnest, as if sharing a secret. "I feel like what we have is something truly special." My cheeks grew warm, but I didn't look away. "I like you too, William," I admitted, my voice barely above a whisper. "You've brought so much light and joy back into my life." He leaned in, his face close to mine, and we shared a kiss as the last rays of sunlight disappeared behind the horizon. In that moment, the world faded away, leaving only us. It felt as though everything had aligned, as though the universe was telling us we were exactly where we needed to be. After that unforgettable day at the beach, our bond grew stronger with every passing moment. Weekends became a canvas for new adventures, hiking forest trails, tasting exotic dishes at small, tucked-away cafes, or simply getting lost in laughter as we tried karaoke for the first time. One afternoon, we visited a local art festival, a maze of vibrant exhibits and talented creators. William's passion for art shone through as he stopped at each booth, his eyes alight with wonder. "I love how art can tell a story," he said, his gaze lingering on a painting of a windswept meadow. His insights were thoughtful and infectious, and as he spoke, I found myself seeing the pieces in entirely new ways. "I never thought of it like that," I said, feeling inspired. Being with William made me realize how much more beautiful the world could be when seen through someone else's perspective. One evening, as we sat on my couch watching a movie, I noticed how effortlessly we had fallen into a rhythm. I leaned against him, his warmth enveloping me like a soft blanket. He pulled me closer, his arm draped over my shoulders. "I'm really happy with you," I confessed, glancing up at him. His expression softened, his eyes shining with emotion. "I am too," he replied. "Actually, I've been thinking a lot about us, and I want to be honest." My heart raced as I braced myself for his next words. "What do you mean?" I asked. He hesitated for a moment, then met my gaze. "I feel like we're building something truly meaningful together. I know we've both been through our own journeys, but I want to see where this goes. I want to be with you. Really be with you." A wave of emotion swept over me. It was everything I had hoped for, but hearing it aloud made it all the more real. "I want that too," I said, unable to keep the smile from my face. I've never felt this way about anyone before. As we kissed, I felt a profound sense of certainty. We were embarking on something beautiful, something full of promise and possibility. Over time, I began introducing William to the people closest to me, friends, family, those who mattered most. I wanted to share the happiness he brought into my life. One evening, I hosted a small dinner gathering with a few close friends. William arrived with a homemade dessert, and I was impressed by his effort and thoughtfulness. As the night unfolded, I watched my friends warm to him effortlessly. They laughed, shared stories, and even teased him in the way only true friends can. I felt my heart swell with pride as I realized how seamlessly he fit into my world. Later that evening, as we cleaned up together, William turned to me with a smile. "I had a great time tonight. Your friends are amazing. I'm glad you liked them," I replied, my relief mingling with happiness. In the weeks that followed, our connection deepened further. We shared more of ourselves, our hopes, our fears, our dreams for the future. One sunny afternoon, while walking hand in hand through a local park, I felt the courage to open up about my past. "I used to be so afraid of getting hurt again," I admitted softly, my voice barely louder than a whisper. My gaze shifted to him, searching his eyes for any trace of doubt. "But with you, feels different. I feel safe." William nodded, his expression gentle yet unwavering. He reached out and took my hand, his warmth seeping into my skin like a quiet reassurance. "I understand," he said, his voice steady and filled with sincerity. "It's natural to feel that way, especially after what you've been through. I want to be someone you can trust, someone who makes you feel secure." His words wrapped around my heart, soothing the raw edges of past wounds. In that moment, I felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude to have him in my life. He wasn't just a presence, he was a refuge, a beacon of calm in a chaotic world. One weekend, as the bustle of the city began to feel too overwhelming, William proposed an escape. "How about a weekend getaway? Just us. There's a cabin in the woods I've been meaning to visit." The idea sparked an instant excitement within me. The thought of retreating into nature, away from the relentless hum of urban life, was irresistible. We packed our bags that Friday evening, the air between us buzzing with anticipation, and set off early the next morning. The drive was filled with laughter, shared stories, and stolen glances that spoke volumes. The cabin was like something out of a dream, nestled amidst towering trees and surrounded by the harmonious symphony of nature. The crisp, fresh air carried a scent of pine, and sunlight filtered through the branches, casting dappled patterns on the ground. As we stepped inside, a sense of peace enveloped me, as though the world outside had melted away, leaving only the two of us in our little sanctuary. The days unfolded like pages of a perfect story. We hiked along winding trails, marveling at the beauty of the forest, our footsteps crunching softly on fallen leaves. In the evenings, we cooked together, laughing over spilled flour and missteps, creating meals that tasted all the sweeter because they were made side by side. Every moment felt effortless, like we were exactly where we were meant to be. One evening, as the sky turned a rich tapestry of oranges and purples, we settled by the fireplace. The crackling flames bathed the room in a warm glow, and William pulled me close. His voice was soft, almost a whisper. "I feel like we're in our own little world here," he murmured, his breath brushing against my hair. I leaned into him, letting the steady rhythm of his heartbeat calm my own. "I love it," I replied, my voice filled with quiet contentment. "I wish we could stay here forever." On our final night, the stars came out in full glory, scattering across the velvet sky like diamonds. Wrapped in blankets, we sat outside on the wooden porch, gazing upward in awe. The stillness of the night was broken only by the soft rustle of leaves and the occasional hoot of an owl. It was a moment that felt suspended in time, perfect in its simplicity. "I never want this to end," I whispered, leaning my head on William's shoulder, my voice barely audible above the quiet night sounds. He turned to me, his eyes reflecting the starlight. "Me neither," he said, his voice carrying a weight of sincerity. "I want to make more memories like this with you." When he kissed me, it was as if the universe itself held its breath. The tenderness of the moment, the unspoken promises in that single gesture, made my heart swell in a way I hadn't thought possible. In his arms, beneath that infinite sky, I realized I was falling for him, deeply and irrevocably. It was as though every hardship I had faced had been leading me to this moment, to him. Returning home felt bittersweet. The city greeted us with its usual cacophony, but something had shifted within me. The memories of the weekend lingered like a warm glow, infusing my days with a newfound sense of hope. William had become more than just a companion. He was an integral part of my life, someone who made every moment brighter simply by being in it. As time went on, our bond deepened. We explored new adventures together, from spontaneous road trips to quiet evenings painting in the living room. Each day brought new laughter, new discoveries, and a growing certainty that what we shared was something rare and beautiful. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon in a blaze of orange and pink, William and I sat on the porch, a gentle breeze rustling the leaves around us. The moment felt almost sacred, the kind of quiet perfection that fills you with a sense of profound gratitude. William turned to me, his expression serious but tender. "Can I ask you something important?" he said, his voice steady but tinged with vulnerability. My heart skipped a beat as I nodded, wondering what was on his mind. He took a deep breath, his gaze holding mine. "Do you think? Would you ever want to marry me?" For a moment, the world seemed to pause. His words hung in the air, brimming with hope and possibilities. I saw the depth of his feelings, the way he looked at me like I was his entire world, and it made me smile. But as much as I cared for him, a wave of uncertainty washed over me, unbidden and undeniable. I reached for his hand, squeezing it gently. "William, you are amazing, and I love being with you," I began, my voice soft but steady. "But I don't think I want to marry again." His expression faltered, a flicker of disappointment crossing his face before he looked down at our joined hands. "Oh," he said quietly, his voice barely above a whisper. My heart ached, knowing how much courage it had taken for him to ask. I placed my other hand on his arm, desperate to convey how much he meant to me. "I've been married before," I explained gently, "and it didn't work out. It was hard. William, I'm not sure I'm ready to go through that again." He nodded slowly, his gaze lifting to meet mine, though sadness lingered in his eyes. I could see understanding there too. "Thank you for being honest," he said after a moment, his voice soft but sincere. "I appreciate that. I really do. We can still be together, right?" I asked, my voice almost pleading. "I love what we have, and I don't want to lose it." A small smile curved his lips, and he gave a faint nod. "Of course. You mean so much to me. I don't want to lose you either." Relief flooded through me, and I leaned in to hug him tightly. As the sun disappeared below the horizon, painting the sky in muted hues, we sat together in a comforting silence, our connection unbroken despite the shift in our relationship. Even without the promise of marriage, what we shared felt significant, precious. Sometimes, love isn't about grand gestures or lifelong commitments. It's about being there for each other, sharing moments of joy and vulnerability, and finding solace in one another's presence. With William, I had found that, and it was more than enough for me.